Right now, if you stepped outside on a clear day without sunglasses, you'd be squinting within 10 seconds. Now stretch that glare out for weeks at a time across a landscape where every surface in every direction, the ground, the horizon, sometimes even the air itself, is a mirror made of ice. That was ordinary life at the edge of the Ice Age. No goggles, no glasses, nothing you'd call an invention yet. Just human eyes against raw, magnified sunlight, day after day, for as long as the trek lasted. And for thousands of years, long before anyone had ever shaped a piece of glass into a lens, the people living there had already solved a problem you now fix without a second thought, using a $5 pair of sunglasses from a gas station rack. You'd assume the biggest danger out there was simply the cold, frostbite, hypothermia, the obvious killers of any frozen landscape, and those were real threats. But cold doesn't take your eyesight away. This did, sometimes within a matter of hours, sometimes for days at a stretch. You might assume, then, that it was ordinary eyesight failure, age catching up, or exhaustion from weeks on the move. But this hit young hunters at the peak of their strength just as hard as it hit anyone else. It didn't creep in slowly over years the way normal vision loss does. It could take someone down in a single afternoon, with no warning beforehand. The actual cause was light, not a lack of it, an overload of it. Fresh snow and ice can reflect back the overwhelming majority of ultraviolet radiation that hits them, far more than you'd ever get from direct sunlight on pavement or open sand. Human eyes have almost no built-in defense against that kind of reflected assault because almost nowhere else on the planet throws that much UV back up into your face all at once. The condition is still known today as snow blindness, and the honest description of it is exactly what it sounds like: a sunburn on your corneas. Vision blurs. Your eyes feel packed with grit. In severe cases, people go completely, if temporarily blind, pupils swollen shut against a glare that refuses to let up. Picture what that meant for someone tracking a migrating herd across open, treeless terrain. No shade, no shelter, no way to simply wait it out indoors. Snow blindness didn't pick a convenient moment to strike. It could take out a hunter mid-pursuit, hours from camp, suddenly unable to see a crevasse underfoot, a predator closing in, or the trail back home. And if it did happen, there was no quick fix. Recovery meant days resting in complete darkness, sometimes with cool, damp moss pressed against the eyes, waiting for corneas to heal while the rest of the group either waited to or moved on without you. Out there, temporarily losing your sight wasn't an inconvenience. It could be the difference between making it back and not. So people engineered a fix, and it's a genuinely elegant one, carved from bone, antler, driftwood, or walrus ivory by groups including the Inuit, the Yupik, and other Arctic peoples. They built something that, if you saw it sitting on a shelf today, you'd instantly recognize the shape of. A strip that sits across the eyes exactly like a pair of glasses, except instead of clear lenses, each eye gets a single narrow slit. That slit isn't decoration, it's optics. By shrinking your entire field of view down to a sliver, the goggles block out the overwhelming majority of incoming light, while still letting through just enough to walk, track, and hunt safely. It's the exact same principle behind a pinhole camera. Restrict the opening, control the light, worked out with nothing but a blade and a piece of bone, long before anyone had a word for optics. It's also, not coincidentally, the same basic idea behind the dark slit in a welder's mask today, and the tinted strip running across the top of modern ski goggles. Different materials, same physics. Making a pair wasn't a one-person job you improvised in a crisis. It took real craft. Whoever carved the goggles had to angle the slit at exactly the right width. Too wide, and you lose the protection. Too narrow, and you can't see well enough to move safely at all. That kind of precision gets taught, not guessed at in the moment. Children growing up in these communities would have watched a parent or elder shape a piece of bone or antler down to that exact tolerance long before they ever needed the goggles themselves, passing along a piece of applied physics as ordinary family knowledge, generations before anyone wrote the word ultraviolet down. Here's the part that elevates this past a neat one-off trick. Arctic and subarctic peoples across enormous stretches of the globe, separated by oceans, mountain ranges, and centuries with zero contact between them, arrived at nearly identical slit-goggle designs entirely on their own. This wasn't one invention that spread outward and got copied. It was multiple disconnected groups independently, landing on the same shape to solve the same problem. The designs weren't identical carbon copies either. That's part of what makes the pattern so convincing. Some cultures carved the slit dead straight across, others gave it a slight curve to match the eye socket, or added small vent holes at the corners to stop the wood from fogging up with breath and sweat. Different materials, different climates, different toolkits, but every single version solved the same core problem the same fundamental way. Narrow the light down until your eyes can handle it. When populations with no contact converge on the same solution without ever comparing notes, that's usually strong evidence you've found the actual best answer, not a coincidence worth waving away. Now, the honest caveat, because this isn't a case where we can point to a single perfectly dated artifact and call it the first pair ever made. Wood, bone, and hide don't survive tens of thousands of years the way stone tools do, so most surviving goggles sitting in museum collections today come from far more recent centuries, not the depths of the Ice Age itself. That's not a weakness in the story. It's just how preservation works. It means we're reasoning from a very good, very consistent pattern of evidence, not manufacturing a specific date out of thin air. But the problem they were built to solve is ancient. Humans pushed into brutally bright, snow-locked environments as far back as the peak of the last ice age, crossing land bridges like Beringia into landscapes that could blind an unprotected traveler within days. Wherever people went into that glare, the need for a fix went with them. And in every population we do have direct evidence for, they landed on essentially the same one. That fix, in updated materials, never really left us. The darkened strip across a welder's mask, the wraparound shielding on ski goggles, even the narrow tint gradient across the top edge of your car windshield. All of it descends from the same insight someone had while staring into a wall of blinding white. Don't try to block all the light. Just narrow it down to whatever your eyes can actually survive. It's easy to picture Ice Age humans as purely reactive, scraping by day to day, with no room for anything you'd call real engineering. But this is precision problem solving, refined and passed down accurately enough that thousands of years and multiple unconnected cultures later, we're still using the exact same core idea, just in polycarbonate instead of walrus ivory. It sits alongside other quietly advanced Ice Age solutions to the exact same environment. Tailored, layered fur clothing sewn with bone needles fine enough to thread sinew through, and shelters engineered specifically to trap body heat in temperatures that would kill an unprepared person in hours. None of it was luck. All of it was people solving genuinely hard problems with whatever materials the landscape gave them. So the next time you grab a pair of sunglasses off your dashboard without a second thought, you're not reaching for a modern convenience. You're reaching for the exact same fix, a narrow gap standing between your eyes and too much light that let humans survive some of the harshest, brightest, most unforgiving landscapes on the planet, thousands of years before anyone thought to put a UV rating on the box.